The new CEO of CSB, James Johnson, held a private media availability yesterday. And Gareth, I'm curious to know, what were your main takeaways?
It's you making it sound so exclusive. Like this is like VIP. We're sipping champagne, hanging out with the new CEO. No, it was really good for a number of media members to be able to sit down with James Johnson, the new CEO of CSB. Just a new voice coming in. He's an impressive guy, and it's not that Clanahan and Mark Noonan weren't. He just brings maybe a little bit of a different demeanor to the table. He comes from Football Australia, another big country, a sporting crazy country. And he and that federation have done a great job developing the game on the heels of hosting the Women's World Cup, where its popularity skyrocketed. And I think that he's hoping that he can take some elements of that blueprint and bring them here. I don't think it's like for like. But he's a guy that I think wants to rally around and give opportunities to Canadians to continue to grow the game in this country. But he brings an impressive resume with him, having worked with the City Group on the professional side. He has experience in FIFA. He was basically the head of pro football. And how he described it during the meeting was when there was issues between the Premier League and the FA and different leagues and the federations around the world, he would be parachuted in to kind of be like the peacemaker or the deal broker or someone that could calm the waters a little bit. Sounds like that kind of role might be necessary here as well. So a really good demeanor, a really positive first impression. And he believes in Canadian soccer. I don't think he's under any illusions that this job's going to be easy, but I think that he's really positive about the project at play. And we'll see what can be accomplished here over the next few years with him in a new leadership role.
Well, and speaking of leadership role, he made a point of saying that they have made the decision not to name a commissioner of the CPL. So we know that Mark Noonan has departed, and as mentioned, James Johnson, CEO. What do you make of that? No commish.
Yeah, that was probably the most newsworthy part of the meeting. Having a commissioner seems to be like very North American. Having that like official spokesperson or figurehead that kind of people can turn to if they have questions or when you're looking for someone to represent the league. My feel is, speaking to a number of different people about this decision, is that there could be a bigger file at play with a different title rather than commissioner. It might be something like the head of the Canadian Premier League or the head of Canadian football, something along those lines, where I'm thinking that it's going to include much more than just the Canadian Premier League in a very similar role that a commissioner would have. It would include like League Ones across this country as well, and ensuring that there's continuity between the pathway between club football and professional football to the national team level within our country, which makes a lot of sense. So the title might be different, but I think that the file at play could actually be something that's bigger and much more significant. So that football strategy is all important, and having clear delineation between the two roles and between the two entities, League One and CPL. I mean, just making sure that it's all under the same umbrella and everything's kind of working together. It makes a lot of sense to me. So it might be a little bit awkward for some that there's no official commissioner, but certainly there'll be that spokesperson or figurehead that will be leading the way in the Canadian Premier League.
Jordan, what are players going to do? Because we just love booing the commissioner. We love blaming a lot of things on the commissioner. Now there's no commish to blame. But what do you make of that decision?
We'll see how it plays out. I will say, everyone that I spoke to about James Johnson, it's going to be very hard for me not to say Jack Johnson and say pancakes. Very difficult. Even when I talk to Will, I'm just going to call him JJ. Naturally, that's just how my brain works. But I love that someone's coming in, as Will just mentioned, a liaison, a peacemaker, but someone that's passionate about football. We need more people like this. So I hope it works. Look, whenever it comes to situations like this, you can always be cynical when it comes to Canadian soccer, like, it hasn't worked in the past. But I'm always going to take the optimist approach. And again, people that come from the outside, from other countries that want to come here and make things better and nurture the game, I'm always going to be around, or be for. So I think it will work. I just think, for me, how I'm going to judge his time there is just how he deals with people, how he brings people together, but how you nurture the league. Like, if it grows, how it expands, like, that's going to be the biggest thing, right? Like, getting that number from 8 to healthy, whatever that might be, 10, 12.
Well, Like the
That's the hope.
word expansion, right?
It
Like
has to
that's what
be.
we're looking at. So I don't know how detailed he got, Wheels, with what success looks like for him.
Yeah, I mean, he has clear priorities. The top three, from my understanding, or what my takeaway from the conversation would be, is the relationship with Canada Soccer, and he's well situated to do that. He does have a previous relationship with Kevin Blue, and the fact that he's worked both on the federation as well as the professional side and the league side puts him in a decent place to understand the needs and requirements of everyone involved, and coming up with the best deal for all parties that will work in the advantage of Canadian soccer. I think it's more about we than me at this point, and he seems to be a listener and someone that is in a good position to facilitate that. Also, expanding the media rights decisions that need to be made in order for more attention to be put on Canadian soccer. And I'm not just talking about the biggest and best games. I'm talking about all the games across this country, community to community, across Canada. So I think that there's some decision making and some clear needs and desires there. And obviously the growth of the Canadian Premier League. I think that each and every one of these things has a little bit of a date attached to them. And that's the start of hosting a home World Cup. And for me, I mean, James made it clear, like, Australia was able to take advantage of hosting a World Cup and having legacy projects that have put the game in a better place. And now the clock is ticking for this country. And he's dead set over the course of the next 11 months to put Canadian soccer in the best position possible to take advantage of the World Cup. He's dealt with government and politicians and private entities before in terms of what it takes to build the infrastructure and leave those legacy projects. Let's hope that it's receptive in this country, because all the meetings and people that I've talked to, I just don't think that some of the politicians specifically understand how big this is and what's actually coming to this country in 11 and a half months time. And they need to show a commitment to develop and allow this sport to grow and allow sport, not just soccer, allow sport in this country to grow much more, providing the resources and the ability to cut the red tape and provide funding towards certain projects to expand the footprint here. So I just kind of look at this. It's interesting because James brings up the fact that Canada is in a really good place. We have gold medal winners in terms of the women's national team, a men's national team, top 30 in the world. Seems like they haven't hit their high water point yet. It's about making sure that the build and the infrastructure below them is in place to make it all sustainable. So that requires building community. Everyone points to like how hockey gets all the headlines in this country. Well, it's not just because of the pro teams at the NHL level. Junior hockey is phenomenally important in terms of building that familiarity, that sense of community across this country. And I kind of look at soccer in this country the same way. We just need professional clubs and opportunity in more communities across this country. I know it's micro versus macro, but that has to be the approach here, because this country forever, just in terms of approach at all levels, I don't care if it's the media side, the club side, the development side, everything's been fragmented. So James is going to have to be that person that puts those puzzle pieces together. I just want to mention one other thing really quickly that I took note of. In this meeting with James Johnson, he brought Kostas Smirniotis into the meeting with him as well. So I kind of like the messaging that sends, including Canadians, because he's an Australian. Like, he's brand new in this country, and he needs to take advantage of smart people that understand the global game, but understand the Canadian game as well, to help him through this process. And that's what I think his approach is going to be. So overall, honestly, Andy, I'm really optimistic about this. I have a really good first impression, but the proof is in the pudding. There's plenty of work to do, and we shouldn't be under any disillusionment that there isn't a big job at hand here.
Big job, that's for sure. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of people will give him a bit of leeway here as the CPL season comes to an end. But you're right. The second I think the calendar switches to 2026, you have a new CPL season, you have the World Cup coming. A lot of people will see what exactly that proof in the pudding starts to look like.